Good evening, guys. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Nathan, and we are live. Finally, it's happened. We are live. We are with Ankit Bhai from Almighty Blues FC. Our very own Chelsea experts in the house. Good evening, Ankit Bhai. How's everything going?
All good, and I hope everyone the connection is fine because it's been raining from morning till evening, non-stop. I don't know if it's raining is a good omen or not, but about the season being starting, so looking forward to it. Generally, as a Premier League fan, but of course, if you're a Chelsea fan, you cannot but be happy because it can only go upwards. It cannot go downwards after last season, can it? So yeah, great to be here.
Absolutely, I agree. And today we're going to talk about all things Chelsea, and most importantly, what I'd like to do is normally I'd like to go from backwards to forwards. So we'll start off with the last season and then we'll move forward. And guys, anyone who has questions, I'll start them and I'll ask them later. So not to break the flow of the conversation mostly, unless there is a gap in between the topics of discussion, of course. So that way, everyone, I can read what you guys write as well as Ankit Bhai can navigate us through the whole topic of discussion.
Sounds good.
So let's start with last season. We know where you finished, right? So there's no point like going, you finished this place, what's your thoughts? I guess the real question everyone asked, I suppose as the season went along, people mostly asked was, where did it start to go wrong? So I'll just ask you a simple question. Was it the sacking of Tuchel too early? Basically, that's my first question. What do you
For
say?
sure, but I think it started even before that, and I think the bottom line is it is political, but the fact is the war started it all. The war started all with, of course, Roman leaving, and then you had thanks Lucky Reds, of course, but Roman leaving, and then we were forced to basically make a decision quicker than what we anticipated, and when we are under sanctions as well, not just him leaving. There's the two different things that we did. Because of that, there was a lot of timing issue, and in that period, if you remember the previous season to that, that was the time. Those couple of months were the time when Rudiger and Christensen both decided their fate, right? And I know somewhere down the line they knew that probably decision making is a big question mark at Chelsea going forward, at least for the timing, and that is why they left, apart from obviously Real Madrid and Barca calling them. But things could have been better if Roman was around. It's simple as that. And I think because you have such players, a player who replaced Thiago Silva in the Champions League final seamlessly is a player from part of the Cobham Academy for a long time in Christensen. Then you have Rudiger, who was basically the warrior for the team. Them two guys not committing kind of gives a sense to the others. And then you had obviously a new owners coming in, changing a lot of things. But initially keeping Tuchel, and of course doing all those transfers. For instance, a person like Aubameyang, who's good in what he does in Barca, but he was bought because of Tuchel, and then you sack Tuchel. So these are all giving wrong messages to the players as well. That okay, are these owners exactly knowing what they're doing before Tuchel as well as after Tuchel? And then you had the World Cup. You get in Potter, who is an unproven manager at the highest level, although he's proven in the Premier League to some extent. Not really a top four, top six manager per se, though, right? So these things give a sense of. I'm not saying that players on purpose got an excuse, but I would say somewhere down the line, the players subconsciously were not as motivated to kind of win that what the Chelsea DNA was in the last 25 years from 1997 that we have created. And that is something that I would like to say was a huge miss. Was the main reason of all. Tuchel, yes, absolutely, the timing was wrong, no two ways about it. But I think it's the entire thing. I cannot pinpoint one single thing. Probably the very first thing that I mentioned, the political reason, is the reason. Really.
Yeah, I think as a neutral and as a fan of a club who has not the best ownership, I think the one thing I think everyone could come to conclusion. People started with the whole oil money thing, right? Like when he first came, but the one thing I really did realize, and a lot of people call it cutthroat, but I also understood that eventually he actually really grew to love the club. Like, yeah, his motives were, put it on the map, get something out of it himself. But eventually, it really clearly looked like he started to really love the club. May probably faster than I think most people would imagine if you go back in time and just think about it. I mean, there was a time where you would see him without fail sitting in the stands every week. Like, there's not a lot of owners who do that, and especially not owners that are necessarily based out of London. Like, I wouldn't say his base was in London at any point of time. I'm pretty sure his base was
Correct.
always in Russia, and I really
Yes.
admired that because I'd see him every time. And see, I mean, a lot of people will say that's not a big deal. They are billionaires, they can afford the plane tickets, but it's also intent, it's also motive, it's also you can draw a lot of positives out of the fact that he just sat there every week for 90 minutes. And I think, as someone who started watching in the early 2000s, I think, like, much like when Ferguson left, Sir Alex left, like when Abramovich left, it also felt really weird. It felt like, it felt like a seismic shift in what you're used to
Oh
on
yes,
a
for sure. And
so
I think Nathan, probably me, we both probably can discuss that as well, because I'm sure that you know about it as well, and some people in the chat. Having seen the era before Abramovich, although for just a couple of years, I exactly know the difference, and that's the difference
yeah.
for sure. People are not going to say that. Come on, it isn't just an owner who was off the pitch, and
Mm.
for a few years he was away from the country. But no, the bottom line is that the final decision is the owners, whether we like it or not. That was how it was,
Yeah.
not a consortium, it was a proper ownership. So that is where you have to basically take time and see what the difference is. I actually, even going back to a consortium thing, I know the US thing, people generalize, I don't generalize, but at the same time, you can also say it's easier for, say, one person to take it, and a set of people under him, when you have a change, rather than a consortium coming in when you have one ownership hierarchy, way that it was for a couple of decades. So I think the transition is, again, it comes across as an excuse, but we have not seen like a very top level club been in this transition and then not go through a dip. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
very difficult.
people say, you could say it is an excuse. I suppose to some extent it is an excuse, but it's also a fact. It's like, when someone is there for 20 years, suddenly not being there, that to being forced, no real notice. So I
No, but
hope he
that is
didn't
where the
even
new
he
owners
didn't
also come in,
even
right,
bid
Nathan?
the club farewell. That's how it became
Correct.
to such a point where he couldn't even bid the club farewell. It's like, who wouldn't have instability based on that? Like, it,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how the club is run.
See,
If you
that is where I'm not happy. But Nathan, if you ask me, I'm not, like, I would not say I'm not happy. Maybe that's not the right way I'm putting it. Maybe things could have been handled much better under new ownership in the first year,
Yeah.
right? As in,
Yeah.
we went proper hire and fire way. That's not how you do. You go full hands on. No, you might have done a certain way in US. As in, it's not necessary you do it this way. This is new to you. You depend on the people who have been in that system for a while. They have the Chelsea DNA.
Yeah.
Why remove them? I know he didn't remove a Marina, or a Czech, but he let him go. You
Yeah.
cannot let that happen in the very first year of transition. The more people you have from the old regime, I know you want to start from scratch, but it's not so easy. So you got to do, basically, a continuity has to be there. Same thing about the players. You cannot just go in the transfer market and buy players for 300, 400, 500 million. That is possible for the future, but again, what about the current? You don't have Champions League football next year. Maybe one of the reasons is this as well. So because the players found an easy excuse, right? That's what you would say.
Yeah. I also think, the, it's so funny. Like, sometimes the people who watch us, right? They started. It's obviously not their fault because they're some of them are significantly younger than us, but they're so used to watching a kind of football. And then there's the football that we've been used to watching from certain teams, like a Chelsea, like a Manchester United, like a prime AC Milan. Like, I can think of AC Milan now, and I go like, it's beautiful, it's great, it's the Rossoneri, but like, when you look at the color and you look who plays, you're like, it's very underwhelming most of the time. When you compare to what you've seen, you're like,
Oh yes, by
these
far.
players are like, and it's nothing sad. It's like, this is what happens with every football club. But like, when you
Correct.
know what you have seen with your eyes, and then you see what you currently see, you're like, what am I watching? You kind of wonder to how where did they fall off?
And even if
It's
you
so
get
weird.
some players, one or two, like for example, a Sandro Tonali, who was looking like potentially, again, just potentially the next Pirlo,
Yeah,
you let him
yeah.
go for money because you don't have money.
I,
So
I
it's
mean,
a new era.
I was convinced that Sandro Tonali would not leave Italy. I
Yeah.
really was. I'm not going to lie. Like whenever, like I was very interested in the thought of even Sandro Tonali leaving Italy in general. But the fact that he joined Newcastle just makes you show like eventually even the Italian players realize that they are going to have to go somewhere else if they want to
Yeah.
really
And
achieve
Italian league needs money, right? That's the thing. So
Yeah, like
unfortunately
I
times
don't
have
know
changed.
about how you feel about it, but the Estadio Giuseppe Meazza, which is also known as the San Siro, like I found out like last year, I don't watch Italian league football, but I think I found out sometime last year like it's going to come down. Like how is that heritage site being knocked down?
No,
Like
but
how is the
see, I
government of
understand
Italy
that
not holding that up? Like you can't. How are they knocking the San Siro down? If you knock the San Siro down, there's nothing in Italy
the
that's
entire history.
interesting
No, I get
anymore.
that.
You know?
No, but the reason is that was needed. That part I actually agree with what is being done. It should have been done even earlier because the Inter Milan AC Milan thing, there is an issue in terms of basically the locals, the rivalry, etc. Them playing in the same stadium,
I
and
suppose
these are
the
like two
fixtures
huge
are
clubs.
the fixtures affected even, right? Like the fact that they
Exactly.
both play
Even
in
the
the
Champions League
same.
fixtures got affected. A lot of times, a lot of, say, for example, if you have a personal stadium for a certain club, they can use that club for whatever purpose they need. Now,
Yeah,
anything which Inter Milan as a club want to do, they have to take AC Milan's permission and vice versa, which is not how
yeah,
it should ideally be.
but it's so strange to me because I realize once the Miazza falls down, I'm like there is not even a because even the Stadio Olimpico, it was built for the Olympics. It's not an iconic stadium. Like
Oh yes,
yeah, I mean you just think about it sometimes and you go, wow, Italy doesn't have one of those stadiums anymore. They just don't.
yeah.
And I'm sure there are old stadiums in Italy. I'm sure they're very good, but
I
no. But
think
I was
again the
anyway.
reason is somewhere down the line money, right? Because again, like what you see in English football is so much of rebuild has happened. Like for example, Spurs. Who would have imagined like 20 years ago that Spurs would have the best stadium among the best in the world? You know?
I agree, and even I never thought the Bowling Ground was going to get knocked down. I never thought
Yeah.
the old White Hart Lane is going to get knocked down. My grandfather's sister,
Okay.
she moved a long time ago back to England, and she lived opposite the old original White Hart Lane. She literally lived in the building opposite the old White Hart Lanes, and
So you can
they were all Spurs fans. So like
even
she was.
Stamford Bridge just although there was talks, but I think now they're just extending one portion of the stadium. They have just acquired a land near the stadium. Luckily, after a lot of years of struggle, so it's good that at least the heritage is being kept.
I mean, because you remove the Bolin ground, you remove Highbury, eventually everything is going to act like, there's going to be no real history. There'll just be
Correct. And
clubs and
Highbury was like
obviously
wow, as in matches in Highbury used to be so
so,
close, as in it
so
was like
close to
jam packed and
exactly.
wow, as in what an atmosphere. Again, as an
What
opposition
not
fan, I
not
have to
very
say that.
not very indifferent to Stamford Bridge because on some ends
Correct,
you're
and,
really
and that
too
is why
close to
the Stamford
the
Bridge heritage cannot be let go. I think the European nights and people underrate a lot of times. I know again, Liverpool, Anfield, be it Old Trafford, everything is quite okay, but and big up to them. But I personally feel the European nights and Stamford Bridge are actually underrated. And again, I know this season, ironically, we don't have a European night there, but
Mhm.
they really
Yeah.
are underrated. The European nights in Stamford Bridge, and that's one of the reasons, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Then there are the new teams that like a Chelsea, where European Champions League becomes the norm, where maybe before it wasn't the case, and then the atmospheres build up over the last 20 years, from playing European games or winning Champions League, and then
Yeah,
if
I remember
stadiums
the
like
very
those get
first
removed,
year.
it's very weird. When those
Correct.
stadiums also get removed, eventually you're like, what? Imagine having a Champions League fixture
Hmm.
not at the San Siro anymore.
Yeah.
That
So
would
I
feel very
remember
weird.
so just to share with you, my first Champions League fixture that I watched was definitely I think if I'm not wrong, 99 final Bayern Munich Manchester United in terms of live watching a live match
Yeah.
on TV, and then obviously the following season we played Barcelona. Chelsea were back in the Champions League and we played Barcelona. So I think that itself, because first season in knockout we played Barcelona two leg tie, it took it off, to the next level to begin with. So from then on, we kind of, from year 99, we kind of also got into the Champions League. But you're right, in a strange way, we didn't used to associate Chelsea with the European night before 99, and generally English clubs, I would say, to be very honest about it,
Yeah,
because it always used to be the Serie A, or Real
yeah,
Madrid, Barcelona. That's what it used to be, or maybe Benfica even.
yeah. Yeah, no, getting back to Chelsea. Yeah, so for me, it was, I agree. I think it did start with Roman leaving, but a lot of people came on the channel and they were like, we had to get rid of Tuchel, but we didn't want Potter, we wanted someone else. I'm like, but the one thing I've realized, I don't know if you have realized this, Ankit bhai, maybe because we are terribly spoiled over the years. I've realized two things. One is we don't have that same quality of coaches we used to have, like across the board. Okay, I'm not. It's not a directed to the PL or any league. And then the other thing I've realized is we don't have top quality number nines like we used to.
Oh
Like
yes.
I was watching the Euro 2022 or whatever, the last Euros, and I was like looking at everyone's number nine. I'm like, none of these number nines get you excited at all. We have like Patrick Schick and like it's like a like just an example. It's not like Patrick Schick's or whatever, Breel Embolo from Switzerland. Whoever, whatever the number nines were. And I'm just looking at them, and I'm like, there are not even any good number nines. I mean, they have that clown Bellotti playing for Italy, even though they ended up winning the Euros. It's like there's such a lack of quality in many aspects that people don't realize how much we have been spoiled for prior. And
You know what? You gave me like a key for to start a different conversation. I don't want to go there, but see, as in simply put, and again, here is the Dutch fan speaking also, just for people to know. That is why, in plain terms, a Virgil van Dijk, a Rio Ferdinand, a John Terry was better than sorry, Vidic, Ferdinand or Terry was better than Virgil van Dijk. Simple as that. But anyway, coming to
John Terry was
what
better than Virgil van Dijk. Is that what you're saying?
overall, 100%, hundred
Oh
percent.
yeah.
I'll
No, no, no.
I'll
I
change my
just
name.
wanted to. No, I just wanted to make sure
Again,
that
people,
I agree.
okay, so the thing is, I know
I
different
agree.
conversation, it has led to that. For me, John Terry, for people who watched it, and every minute, every second of him, I'm glad to have watched, wherever he played, in whatever way he played. The guy was highly underrated and is highly underrated, and people even don't know what kind of a long passer he was from his left foot. He was absolutely sensational. The Hollywood passes that he made, which Virgil van Dijk supposedly is the best thing that he does. And I am a Dutch fan, again, disclaimer, guys. I like a Virgil van Dijk. I wanted him at Chelsea. John Terry, in terms of the way that he defended, gave his everything for the club. Gave his, the Carabao Cup, which used to be called the Carling Cup final 2009, was it?
Calling
Yeah.
up.
He lost his tongue, and the guy came back. He was in hospital, and the
He
way he
wore
did
that.
it,
He
he
wore
did
that. He wore that headdress like Christian Kivu used to wear, right? And
exactly
Jack. They all wore
right.
that same headdress.
Okay, and that element I do not see in Virgil van Dijk, very honestly, and that is part of
No, no,
English
no.
football. That element only a John Terry, a Vidic, a Adams, these kind of defenders could
Now,
do it,
now
which is
maybe
gone.
I can only think of Martinez,
Lisandro, yeah, Lisandro Martinez,
Yap Stam, Yap Stam.
yeah, yeah, or to some extent a Rudiger, I would also say, which he did in Champions League
Rudiger,
last season.
Rudiger.
So
Yeah,
I've just turned the question. You asked me about strikers. I also think about
yeah.
defenders, to be honest. So strikers, I 100% agree. The strikers generally we have lost it.
I
That
mean,
level of
yeah,
strikers.
we were spoiled, Ankit bhai. We were spoiled. I mean,
Absolutely.
the strikers now, they're like, oh my God. Like,
But
it's
also
sad
is
watching
the
some
kind
of
of
them.
football, no. As in, see, the I know the kind of football. Even that time we had some awesome football played, but a Pep is now the benchmark. Earlier, the benchmark was what? As in someone like Sir Alex Ferguson. Now, Sir
Alex
Alex
Ferguson.
Ferguson played, very good one-touch football, as in continuous football, but it wasn't the Pep style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe the Spanish teams of the 2010 World Cup and the 2012 Euros, to some extent, and then Pep Guardiola, of course, the Barca teams, and then obviously now Man City. These in the last 10 to 12 years, and to some extent Ancelotti in Chelsea in 2009-10 also. So I think 2009 to 2023, these 13 14 years have kind of changed football, and that is why you see more like false nines. You don't see like the hardcore defending so much like a John Terry or from Vidic so much. That, so those are all part of football. So again, we can get into debate, but I think there are some good elements as well which we definitely need to celebrate, right?
I mean, yeah, I think the levels of athleticism, the intensity, the fact that we get a lot more football on a year every year than we would normally get. I think as someone who just watches the sport, I think we quite benefit from it now because there's never been more football than there is now. There has never been more accessibility to players than it is now. Like you get a peek into their personal lives depending on the players you follow and the teams you're in. There's a lot of insight that I don't think some probably old fans didn't want and didn't have time to deal with. But now that
And
we
then
have
even the
everything in
players
our
know.
hands, it's easier.
I think so. Now the players are like, you talk about Chelsea. We're talking Chelsea, right? Last season,
Yeah.
there's something wrong just here and there. I know there were major things as well, but something wrong, and then you get an excuse for a player not to perform. Or
Yeah.
I know that there are mental health issues, and of course, big
Yeah.
up to them. Hopefully,
Yeah.
it's all sorted. But you get an easier excuse. As in, people like we spoke about
Absolutely.
Terry's, right? The Terry's of the
Yeah.
world, and he has said it. I think was it. I think we had Desai in the club, and he used to give his boots for Terry to clean, and Terry
Yeah. That is
happily, proudly
that
did
was
that.
the culture. That was the culture back then. Yeah.
Imagine that been done right now in every team
Oh, no way.
in the
Agents
world of
would
social media.
come, leaked tweets would come out. It would be
And then,
nightmare.
with all due respect, the moms and the girlfriends and the sisters will also come, and we know exactly who we are pointing
Yeah,
towards.
yeah. I mean, like, genuinely, it would have been a nightmare. I mean, the agents would have a field day. They would have got their money's worth. But it would
Even
have been
in
a
us,
nightmare for
even in
everyone else.
India, I think even like when I was in school and all, trust me, bro, I was like ragged on a football field and a cricket
Yeah,
field.
yeah.
Things have, for the
It
good,
is
some things have
it
become
is
very nice.
what was deemed a rite of passage is now deemed bullying and shit like that. But in
Yeah,
reality, it builds your camaraderie in a different way. Like
it
today,
makes you
everyone's
stronger as a
camaraderie.
person, as a player.
Exactly. And today nowadays camaraderie is built by whoever pays you the highest because then they suddenly wear the shirt, they do the pose in the shirt, they kiss the badge, they point to the stands. Like this doesn't really mean anything nowadays because everybody does the same thing.
Correct. Or
But there
social
are but
media. Correct. Social media for sure is the reason.
yeah, social media is the reason, and I also think the quality of people are just different now.
Hmm.
They just are. I mean, it's a you could easily say they are weak-minded people, but then where they are weak-minded people, they make up for probably being better athletes because I feel conditioning, the strength and conditioning has
Yeah,
never
a
been
lot of things
better
have
in
improved, of
football.
course.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the when it comes to the mentality, like I mean, I saw Yapstam doing sliding tackles on the 20th anniversary of the '99 final. I saw him do slide tackles at 50-year-old people. I was like, what's happened to this guy? Like, he had a fight with his wife before he came for this match, and he's just like taking out everybody. I was like, this is great.
What a player, man. Yapstam was, but exactly.
And the thing is, we were not playing well at the time. And watching Yapstam do that, watching Ole Gunnar Solskjaer hit a one-touch, smashing the ball into a goal at the 45, 50-year-olds, you're seeing them actually, first of all, credit to them for keeping in shape at their age. And then to see them actually like have that desire at that age, and then you go see your 20-year-old kids who are getting 300K a week
And they
couldn't
give
be
up
bothered.
like in between the
Yeah,
matches. Exactly.
believe me, when I saw that Legends match, no, my head was done. Yeah, that season too, my head was gone. I was sitting on Giants channel watching the Manchester United game. My head was gone that season because I was like the 50-year-old people are more hungry than you. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Like, where is the professional pride? There is no professional pride, zero. Like, but anyway, like that is another thing altogether. We'll answer this question. Melon's asking if you can go back past force a move for a player who was linked with your favorite teams, who would you choose? He said I choose Julian Alvarez. Who would you take?
Lots of players have been linked, to be honest. As in talk about Chelsea and Manchester United, the best of the best players have. I remember Ronaldo was so close to joining Chelsea, so was Messi. As in, who would say no to them, to be very honest, right? As in, Ronaldo was linked twice, in fact, actually, even Messi. But yeah, as in, one player, or rather one player which is very weird for me to say, I know, as a Chelsea fan, and it's a very unpopular opinion, so you might like the answer, and that's actually fact. I have, for people out there who can check out my channel, I've done a goat 11. I'm not sure if Nathan has watched that. Goat 11, which is a non-Chelsea Goat 11, which I've done on Almighty Sports. I've done one, on Almighty Blues, and I've always said that this one would have been wow, as in what. And I'm not talking about the Ronaldinho's, Zidane's, the obvious names. I'm not talking about them. I know Ronaldinho was also linked very strongly. In fact, Abramovich wanted to buy him, but I would say very shockingly, Andre Arshavin. I really like that guy. I don't know why. I just like. I have a thing for wingers, generally attacking wide players. But Andre Arshavin, the way that he played in the Euro 2008 was like, what a tournament. And plus the Russian
I did not
connection.
expect that answer. I did not
And no,
expect that
I'm sure no
answer.
one did. But exactly, that's what I said. If you watched that, you might relate to it, and told the reason exactly. The Russian connection was definitely there. And that's the reason, because of Roman being around, right?
I mean, they had even Spurs went in on a Russian guy, right? Pavlyuchenko. Like I think
Pavlyuchenko.
I think there are a
Actually,
lot of Russians
and
moved
that's why
around
it
that time.
surprised you all, because I think I'm
Yeah.
talking about here Arsenal player and Arshavin. Then even Spurs, the Harry Redknapp era, there were quite a few. In
Yeah.
fact, when there was Berbatov and Nicholas Anelka, we were going for one of them, and we were strongly linked to Berbatov more than Nicholas Anelka. And then Berbatov obviously decided the other way around, and we went for Nicholas Anelka. I was like disappointed. I'm like, no man, we wanted Berbatov. But eventually, I think Nicholas Anelka also did fairly well for us. So it's okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, gave everybody an iconic celebration. Even that, I think everyone in the playgrounds used to use that back then. Even so, so we have a lot of memories of Nicholas and Elka one way or the other. Malar Gautam's asking a question here. Who do you think is the best midfield ever? This is the most dangerous question you can ask any
Ever.
Premier League player. This is the
I think
most
one.
dangerous question you can ask anyone that watches Premier League football because the debate
I don't
becomes,
know. Malara, can you see that? Okay.
oh, see,
One of them in the conversation. He has to be in the
this is
conversation.
where this is probably
No,
the
but
worst conversation to have
again,
with
Malar,
Premier
tell me
League
the
player.
context. So, in what formation are you playing firstly, and tell me the makeup. Then it's different. See, for me, one thing is for sure. I actually personally rate Scholes as the better footballer. No two ways about it. But I think people connect to Lampard only as a goal scoring midfielder. Oh, please. He was much more. Lampard became a cam only for a couple of years. He was really a central midfielder per se. He never played as a cam. He played as a
Yeah,
cam only for a couple of years in entire career of
yeah,
Chelsea. Mind you, and he was someone from central midfield. He went into the box, but he did his dirty work. And I would like to heavily argue that Lampard was a better tackler than Scholes, but Gerrard was a better tackler than both of them. This is also there. And Gerrard is a better captain in terms of leadership, but in terms of overall, just the skill, I would say Scholes. But you know what? The answer is Malar. Answer is David Beckham. People will be shocked with that answer as well. But anyway, just said it. Then go
Ooh.
ahead.
I actually like that answer a lot. Actually,
Again, a very people
for
think he's just as free
people
kicks.
think he's a right winger. They don't realize he played in the
They don't
middle of the
realize
field in
exactly.
'99. But of course, that is also a lot of people weren't even born then. So it's like
Correct. And
watching
unfortunately,
football.
I was, so I can relate to what you're
No,
saying,
I
bro.
mean, but that's the great thing, right? Because the funny thing is, a lot of people go, a Beckham move to Madrid, he was a flop, and you know sometimes I
Oh,
look
nowhere
back and
close.
no, but you know what's the funny thing, Ankit? Bhai? I can be like, I can counter that by saying R9 was a flop, Figo was a flop, Zidane was a. They all didn't win anything. They all were in the same team,
Correct.
but everyone just goes Beckham was a flop. I'm like, that's interesting
Yeah.
how you all go that way
And
because
also,
all
like
of
your
them played
Putin
in the
is
same
saying,
team.
CR7 won as a no, he won as a winger. There's a huge difference, my
Iman is
bro.
a
He was
winger.
a
Yeah.
proper
Iman is
winger.
a winger at Manchester United,
In
right wing.
fact, a
He
right
was a
winger
right
at
winger.
beginning.
Yeah.
So Putin, also I would like to say people might disagree. I don't know. I know it's different conversation. You're talking Chelsea today, but because you've brought it on here, मेरा ये एक है. I would also say CR7, obviously the GOAT, one of the best players of all time, easily. Okay, no two ways about it, among a few others. But the legacy of David Beckham, Roy Keane, Eric Cantona, Rooney is arguably more at Manchester United. I don't know if
Yeah.
you agree with me.
Oh no, I agree with you, and I got in a lot of trouble because I reacted to the first part of the interview, and I'm like, listen,
Same here, same here.
what I said was very simple. Cristiano Ronaldo is not even top 10 in our list of legends. Like there are 10, at least 10 legends who have contributed more to our club. At least
Yeah.
10. That
Dennis
is the
Irwin,
truth.
a lot of them.
If
Yeah,
anyone just looks in a book, put your personal feelings aside, I bet you can name at least 10 players who have contributed more to our club. At least 10. So I was very upset with what he said about Rooney, but then I also took it as
Agreed.
the thing is with that Ronaldo interview is he is so angry about so many things that whatever questions were like lobbed into him was like what we like to call an alley oop. It was a slam dunk. It's like Piers Morgan throwing the ball in the air, Glazers, Rooney, Staff, like everything was so Ragnick. Like everything was like a slam dunk. He's like getting the ball in the air right next to the basket, and he was just like
It was like
slamming it.
I versus we, right? As in, and that's where with Sir Alex, I think he's a goat manager as well. I feel that he's been very overprotective about Ronaldo over the years. Probably I expected him to do better there, but everyone is a human being. It's okay. He's a legend
Yeah,
as
no,
well.
listen, yeah. I mean, Sir Alex Ferguson also signed Jumba Jumba. It's not like it's not like he never
Oh
got
yeah, yeah.
anything wrong in his life. I'm like,
Of course,
but
who can forget that? Yeah,
yeah, I mean, but at the same time, it's like he also went into the halftime at the Sporting Lisbon game and said, "I want that guy." Like how many times since that day to this day have you heard a coach go into the opposite dressing room and go, "I want that guy. I'm signing him from your club. I'm not leaving the stadium." How many times from that year onwards to this year have you heard a coach do that? This is what we call, it's what nowadays people call big dick energy, but basically it's basically just balls. It's like I am who I am. I'm walking in here. I'm going to do this. Deal with it.
see
That
that's what I'm
no
telling you
matter.
directly. Nathan, I know that I'm saying to you, and here there might be a few fans who disagree, but while of course he's a goat and those teams played with a lot of team spirit and other things, but at the same time, the Fergie time, yes, there is a level of resilience for sure,
Yeah.
but I think कुछ तो गड़बड़ वाला चीज है उसमें. Let's be real. The
Yeah,
aura
yeah.
of Sir Alex with the linesman, it definitely mattered, bro. It
For
definitely
sure,
did.
there is a sway. It's like how we see the Barcelona sway with the refs and all. Like
Yeah,
I don't
even
see any.
even Jose Mourinho at Chelsea, yeah, he played those games as
There
well,
is
and
there
that's
is a
why
sway.
both of
There
them
is a
got
sway.
along.
You get that clout. With the more years I guess you put in, you just get that clout no matter what.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, so that's what I was just answering those questions there, and so we will move on to now. Basically, so you all finished bottom half of the table. That was obviously not good. I got into more trouble with Dere. Dere is not here today, so I can talk shit about him before he abuses me. But I told Dere, what was the point of getting Lampard in? Because first of all, you destroy Lampard's legacy even more. And as someone who appreciated Frank Lampard, the player, after retirement, obviously didn't like him while we were playing against him. I genuinely, it got to a point where I actually like felt bad. Like I was like, what? Why are you? Why is everyone doing this to everybody? It's like everyone laughed when Solskjaer did it. Then
Yeah.
Gerrard got the sack, and like, why is everyone now Lampard's the next person in line to do? Like, why is everyone doing this? Like, have you not learned from what happened to Solskjaer? Gerrard on a low extent, right? It's a bit of a punt. He did really well at Celtic, came to Aston Villa, it didn't work out. But Frank Lampard, with respect to Derby County, it's Derby County. It's Derby County and Chelsea. The expectations are like night and day. Like Derby County is a good season if they make the playoffs. Chelsea, it's a bad season if you don't finish sixth place.
Correct.
There's such a difference. And then to come back after it ended badly a second time because whatever Boli was doing, yeah, y'all couldn't find anyone. Y'all wanted to wait for the new season, whatever the reason was, just to basically throw more mud on like Lampard's grave. And I was like watching him, and I was like, it looked like he was kind of drowning. It got to a point where it looked like he was just drowning every week, and I was
Oh
like,
yes,
God, this
I
is
see.
so
I think
ugly.
I think Chelsea and himself both are to blame for his coaching career, at least for the timing, going from good to bad to worse. At any point, he was not like a great manager. But I would like to say that, of course, when he took up the job the first time around, hats off to him because we were in a
Yeah,
transfer ban, and I think the way that he did, yes, there were question marks on the way he set up the team for defense, of course, and some senior players he didn't play. Fair enough, but he did something which no Chelsea manager was able to do. I know he was forced to do that, but he had the balls to do it, right? And that was like playing
yeah,
all these youngsters and giving them a leadership role, and which is very rare at Chelsea. And he was able to do because he himself did it. Remember back in the day with John
yeah.
Terry, in a strange way. So he kind of related to that, and he brought a lot of things. And of course, the same season, the second season rather, he we won the Champions League. So he was the one who was responsible to recruit. And this is a
Yeah.
matter of fact, because these players have actually come out and said, people like Werner, Havertz at the time, or Thiago Silva, Edward Mendy, these are all people who actually came in when they spoke to Lampard, Ziyech. They were all convinced with Lampard. That was a pull because of a player, the legend that he was, right? And you're right. Uh, then he went away, and of course, there was an argument that maybe Arteta also could have got the sack during the time, and because he didn't get sacked, Arteta went from okay to good to very good. His graph went this way, whereas Lampard's graph went this way, right? And that was a mistake which Chelsea made. But on the other hand, when he came back after Everton, first of all, this time I don't think he had the real need to take the job, if I'm being very honest. But again, being the man that he took the job, and then all
Absolutely.
he
I,
had is the Real
I,
Madrid game.
I, I don't blame him because for me, I look at it very, very clearly. He tried to come and rescue the club short term.
No, but there was not
That's
enough effort. See, that is where Nathan, I also thought that. And initially, if you see my streams, you will see that I'm one of the few who was actually back that, and I had some optimism compared to a lot of others, with all due respect. But on the pitch, you can see that wasn't Lampard.
yeah,
So maybe he lost his confidence after the Everton stint, quite possible, and it
yeah.
became from bad to worse. But that was the wrong timing. Sometimes the timing is all about it, right? So for me, the timing, and the timing has made it so bad now that I don't think it's good for him to come to management. Leave apart. I know here people are saying, why not nice him?
This might sound like a very mean thing to say, but I actually thought he was a very good pundit instead of a coach. I thought his
Oh yeah, yeah,
punditry was awesome, and
yeah. I
and
remember
it's
him,
very
Joe
weird
Cole,
how
Ashley Cole,
people, yeah.
all the three Chelsea. But again, he got them to his team itself in the coaching setup.
I
I,
was
I
I
agree
was
with
really
you.
surprised. I was really surprised Ashley Coach went into coaching because Ashley Cole's attitude could have was terrible. Like he was
But you
so
know what?
temperamental. He was so temperamental. I'm like, this guy is coaching people. People are going to be like
Okay,
really
no,
mad
actually
half of the time.
speaking, if you know, Rui Faria was Jose Mourinho's
Yeah,
number two for
Jose
a good
Mourinho's
while.
assistant. Yeah,
He was also known for such a thing. So the thing is, when you're a coach and you're not a main manager, you are doing all these things off field because you are somewhere down the line, you are the motivator as well.
yeah,
Others managers just managing. So sometimes that is sometimes more important when you get into a match. If you remember, even the match against Real Madrid where we eventually lost and got eliminated of
yeah,
Champions League, Ashley Cole was actually managing the team and not Lampard in that particular tie.
yeah. No, the thing is, no, I was looking at Ashley Cole like one of the last games of the season. I was like, my God, he has to deal with Cucurella and Chilwell, and I was like, oh my God,
He's like, oh, give me the boots.
He
I
must
rather
be
go and play.
rinsing these people every week. He must be rinsing both of
See,
them.
Chilwell, okay, I
One
can
is
get it, but
one is like an
imagine
apron.
Kukurea. Imagine
I
Kukurea,
always call
man.
Ben Chilwell an apron because very nice on the front and wide open at the back.
No,
He's
but Chilwell,
really.
I would like to disagree, man. The guy had Riyad
No, I
Mahrez in his
mean
pocket, man, for the Champions League
defensively, I
final.
always thought he was a little suspect, and this has
No, no,
really
no. I,
hurt
I would
Chelsea
like to disagree, man, with all due
because what
respect.
happens is no Ankit bhai, like people were like, why does Shaw get picked over Chilwell? I'm like, I think it's very obvious why Shaw gets picked over Chilwell. I think it's very obvious, especially with Gareth
No, it's
Southgate as
all about
coach.
form. See, as in again, we can agree to disagree there because, sh- as in football is about as in form, right? And short term memory loss everyone has. As in just go back to just the period after Euro 2000 or Euro 2020. Sorry,
Yeah,
go back to that period, right?
hmm,
The season where we won the Champions League. We are talking about, right?
yeah,
As
yeah.
in Chilwell was far better. And then remember,
I
we all
think I
forget
think
Chilwell had an
Chilwell
injury
and
as well.
Reece James were the best left back and right back that year, actually.
Exactly, and then Chilwell had an injury. He had a long term injury.
I mean,
People forget that.
Chilwell
Shaw
is
as well.
like Chilwell's really made of breadsticks, but because the way he gets injured, no, it's very alarming. He's very young to get so many injuries. It's
Let's.
kind of sad because
You know
your
what?
whole
I'm crossing
trajectory
my
goes to
fingers
nothing.
and toes. Imagine relying the season on Kukurea, man. As much
My
as I
God,
want to give him a chance.
I can't. But when I like saw Ashley Cole, now I'm like, oh my God, Ashley Cole has to deal with both of these left backs. I was like, oh God, this must be brilliant. Imagine just sitting there watching him talk to the fullbacks. Oh, like, oh my God, he's just getting rinsed every day, every week they're getting rinsed. I was like, oh wow, because Ashley Cole was such a temperamental person, right? Even if you clean tackled him, and I've seen so many times where someone tries to like give him the hand to like pick him up, he'd like slap the hand and like get up on his own. I was
See,
like,
but
wow,
that's what
this
works
guy.
for them, man. As in, if Ronaldo comes and
Yeah.
says that, and in fact, to some extent, Messi also agreed to that. I remember in an interview when you're the one of the best that you played against, it works for you, man. Simple as that. You cannot play the top clubs if you
Absolutely,
don't have the.
absolutely. I
You
think
need
that's
that.
what made him great. I agree, and
You.
but I found it weird that he became a coach because of how temperamental elite, because of his elite mentality. He was temperamental,
Hmm.
and I was that doesn't necessarily
You know what?
convert
It's
to being a
great that you
coach.
say that. You know what the funniest is? I know you're talking about Ashley Cole. What about Gennaro Gattuso becoming a coach?
Oh my God! Again,
You know what?
the
That's an
first time I saw,
example for you.
the first time I saw him on the sidelines, now I'm like, he's going to hurt someone when they go back to the dressing room. I'm like, he's
And no
actually
one
going
can
to pick
forget
somebody.
Roy Keane's stint as well, right? So Roy Keane, Gennaro Gattuso is there, so why not Ashley Cole? Simple.
I
So
mean,
let's
yeah,
move
of
on.
course, there are definitely more crazier people. Lee Boyer, Lee Boyer was the coach. Oh my
Lee
God, Lee
Boyer.
Boyer was a
Oh
coach.
man, who can forget that fight?
Oh. But I was just thinking like these people must have really calmed down in age because I would never in a million years think they would coach people, especially people that don't mirror their mentality. It must kill them inside to watch these people play football. It must really kill them inside because I
Yeah.
think Gattuso was in charge of AC Milan, and I mean prime Gattuso with the prime AC Milan team, and watching these clowns play at the San Siro like 15 years later, you're like he must have been like, why? I want another job.
See, but
Give me another
that's
job.
something that you cannot determine who will go where, because for me, Ambrosini always came across that he'll become a top manager, and here you have
Yeah.
Gennaro Gattuso. I know he's not top, but he actually managed Bakayoko. Can you imagine? And managed him quite well.
Diego Simeone. Oh my God. Talk about someone.
Excellent
Talk about,
example. Excellent, Putin.
I
Excellent.
can't stand them. People come and they purposely come on my channel and troll me. Diego Simeone coming to the Premier League. I'm like, please, yeah,
No, but Putin
please,
has
no,
point because
no.
for people who have watched Diego Simeone for Argentina, and I had the opportunity to watch him as a player, trust me, this guy was something else. As in, he was the Roy Keane of Argentina. Simple as that.
I take every opportunity to not watch anything Diego Simeone related. I take every opportunity like a blessing. I don't have to see him as a blessing for me. So because I remember one time like just some highlight reel where he they won the match or something and he turned around to the crowd and did like suck it. I don't know if you watched pro wrestling when you were younger,
Yeah, yeah,
but
of
he
course, of
did
course.
suck it. Like I'm like, bro, you're 50 years old. Like act your age, yeah. Like what is this? I'm like,
But
what
that
is
doesn't
this
even
guy?
Klopp
It's so
makes
sad.
some gestures sometimes that
No,
sometimes
but
I
like
am okay with
when
that, man.
Klopp does this, or he like rallies up. Like, this guy turned around the crowd and like
No, but I
suck it,
cannot
yeah. I'm like,
even
dude.
imitate it. Klopp the way that he makes his face now, like this, the way
Yeah,
that he
yeah,
does. Oh my
the
god, his
face,
face
yeah, the
becomes like full
face.
teda meda and all.
That
That's the
is, I
amount of
think, because
passion.
of how his teeth
I like
were,
that.
right? Because he's only done the top part of his teeth, so that he
Oh, okay,
still has
okay.
that thing with
Oh
his
man, I
teeth.
didn't know that. Sorry, man. The full
No,
fans
no,
if
he
you feel
he's got
offended.
he's got a full his. If you see him when he first came
Okay.
to Liverpool, you can he and Firmino, I think they both went to the same dentist. In fact, if I'm not mistaken,
Hmm.
a lot of Premier League players have actually gone to that same dentist. It's like they have had that reputation of, and Firmino's teeth look fantastic. So whoever's doing the job is fantastic. It does a great job, I think. Um, yeah, so moving forward, Ankit, let's talk about the off season. Let's start with things we have already ranted about, just so we can get it out of the way. Um, let's start with what. Let's start with with the elephant in the room. Considering I'm a United United fan, let's start.
Oh yes, for sure. Why not?
Mason Mount. Mason Mount. We'll talk about Mason Mount and Kai Havertz. I'll go first. I can't. I understand if the Chelsea fans' disappointment of the Cobham boy going to the rival, but can I say something? Like I don't know how your take on this particularly was, but I don't think you all should have sold Kai Havertz to Arsenal. And believe me, I was dogging on Kai Havertz the whole season. There's plenty of proof. Like I was laughing. He was missing open headers. I was like, this guy, Darwin Nunes, him and Timo Werner should start a front three. They're brilliant together. Like I made all the jokes possible. But then selling him to Arsenal, I was like, oh wow, that if that bites y'all, it's going to get really ugly because he played so badly last season, and if he turns it around this season, Chelsea fans are going to be really mad, really
No,
mad because
at some point he will. He will. And I'm not even having any doubts. And for people, and again, Nathan, and people might have watched my channels. They know that I have protected him more than others, as much as I could. Not because of the fact that I met him, but the fact that I felt always that at Chelsea he did not play in his right position at all. Like
yeah,
hardly there
yeah,
was like two consecutive games where he played his right position. I remember
yeah,
Lampard in the first stint when he bought him, he did try and play him there, but again, as in we were short a striker, we were not scoring enough goals, and then he was moved to that role as soon as Tuchel came. So apart from the first couple of months at Chelsea, he's not really played his right position. And arguably that would have that in league football at least he was doing well. I remember the games where him and Werner had that crazy game where we went 3-all against Southampton. And I remember the brace that he scored against Fulham. If you actually see the kind of goals that he scored, like wow, world class goals. And again, he's not a goal scorer. That's also one thing, and that's something that which maybe Tuchel and then Potter and then again Lampard part two, thought that he is, and maybe he wasn't even vocal enough to say that, okay, no, I want to play as a number eight, just play me there. If someone strong, mentally would have done that, to be honest, and that's something that
yeah.
maybe he
He
didn't
he
do.
does he doesn't look like he has that mentality, and in
Yeah,
many
that
ways he's weird. Like he's not
personality.
like in many ways he doesn't have that old school German personality either, where you're
He
very
doesn't. He's more like an he's
no.
more like an Ozil in many ways. He's more like an Ozil. In fact, even Ozil. So again, when I say that, I'm so sure about it biting us on the back because it'll be in moments. It'll not be like he'll go on this run of like 25 games scoring 15 goals or 25 games getting 15 assists. No, he is that guy who plays against us, and all of a sudden he'll get you an assist and a goal in that particular game itself, and then he'll be off for about 5 games. And even in matches, there'll be two moments will be like moments of brilliance, and then
Yeah.
oh my god, what a worst touch even I could do and get a better touch.
I mean,
He's one of those players.
I honestly think deal wise, you all got the better part of the deal because I mean,
Oh
I
yes,
don't
for sure.
honestly think Havertz can do worse than what he did last season. I don't know. If it's possible, I was like, my God, it's a genius move by Chelsea to sell him to Arsenal because I really don't think he
Okay,
can do
so
worse than last
and
season.
you're right. We bought him. We won the Champions League. We won the Club
Yeah.
World Cup, the UEFA Super Cup, and we bought him for about 80 million. And we sold to Arsenal for 70 million after buying all that. And again, with all due respect to Arsenal, the last time Arsenal was in the Champions League was 7 years back. And all that we have got for 10 million. Just think about it in terms of maths. But again, football is not math, right? So let's see. I
No,
think Mason Mount should have been.
but good business decisions are definitely part of football now, for sure. Good
Yeah,
business
it's more that
decisions
way.
are definitely a part of it now because now with FFP kicking in, I mean, you all have turned a great profit this year from the between all the sales compared from the Saudi League, from the Premier League, whoever has bought a player from your team. It's been nothing but great business decisions. I think that would be the real plus point from what is definitely a extremely underwhelming season. I think there are plus points that way. With regards to Havertz, before we move to Mount, the one thing I was watching a lot of the games, especially in the second half, and the one thing I didn't understand is once João Felix came in, why was
Mhm.
João Felix not playing in front of Havertz and Havertz playing behind him? Because from I mean, and I'm no expert here, but Joao Felix is off the ball running, his ability to take on players. He would have created pressure on the defense, whereas Havertz is just not that guy. And for the life of me, I didn't understand why Joao Felix was playing behind Havertz when both of them were playing the games they were both playing, I should say. So for 1 second, I was like, am I like missing something here? Like maybe like obviously I don't have any FA credentials, but like it's very clear that Joao Felix is much more better suited in front of Kai Havertz. He has the better shot, he has the better finishing, he has the better dribbling. Uh, Even if he's not an actual number nine, he has more attributes to a number nine than Havertz does.
Yeah,
Why is
he's
he
he's
not
better
playing in front
finisher
of
for sure.
Havertz? Yeah, why is he not playing in front of Havertz? Because there were so many chances Havertz got. I'm like, anybody else would have finished that.
See,
Mount
that
would
is
have
where I
finished
blame.
it.
No, I
You
agree with you. I blame Potter and Lampard. Simple. And Bruno Salter for a match, of course. See, for me, I always predicted for the last few months that we'll keep only one. We'll keep Felix or Havertz because either one, because they are too similar in my opinion. I know one is right-footed more or two-footed, one is left-footed more. I get that, but in terms of position, in terms of the role they want to play, they are very similar. In terms of even in the height and other things, you can also argue the make. So for me, only one of them. And I agree with you. Joe Felix probably was better off, but again, it comes down to the price and the coaching part of it, no point talking about it because I think we both are on the same page. Potter and Lampard screwed it up, right?
I
But
mean, but what do you
we
have?
should
But like
have invested, I believe,
but
in
Ankit,
Felix.
like when these people are like, especially Lampard, who's like a professional footballer, like of a real elite level. Like, what are we missing that they just both of them, him and Potter, refuse to play Felix in front? Like, what are we missing? Are we missing something? Because sometimes I think to myself, there is a method to the madness. Maybe we don't know what the hell we're talking about sometimes. We just don't want to see Havertz play in front. Like, what are we missing? Because to me, it is very clear that Havertz, you might as well put pencils on his shoes because he's not going to. His aim is terrible. So like, no,
Good one.
there's only so much you can even make fun of Kai Havertz because at the end of the day, I don't even blame him. It's like you're telling him to play the position. So there's only so much you can blame Kai Havertz as well because you can see him miss sitter after sitter, chance after chance, and then you still play him in front. He gets roasted by the fans. He gets the onslaught from everybody. Then maybe even that made him want to just leave, even if it is to Arsenal. So it's like, what are we missing? Are we missing something? Like,
No, the thing is, see, maybe he himself, even for the German team, he kind of plays two different roles at times. So for me, even the player himself, maybe again, may not be so vocal, may not be so sure about his positioning. And then there was changes of coaches, because for me, yeah, you can argue under Tuchel also there were a lot of issues, but arguably you can say that he was better under Tuchel than he was under Potter and Lampard for sure, right? Just one of the Champions League. I know people just remember the Champions League final goal, but no, even in the Champions League run, he was very, very instrumental. People forget that. Same as Mount, right? And again, coming back to Mount, I think I agree with you. Somewhere down the line, Havertz, we got a very good deal in terms of the finances, and I expected, despite Havertz having 2 years left on his contract, I expected both of them go for a similar kind of a price. That's what my expectation was, and Havertz went for a higher one, which was surprising. But again, Mason Mount, a lot of as in opinions are also very, very, say North Pole, South Pole kinds for a good year and a half. We've seen that with England, not just for Chelsea. But to actually say that Mason Mount is a rubbish footballer, I totally don't understand whoever says it. This guy is actually a very good footballer, and I've always said that. See, as in, it's again social media, the modern football, the way that is played. All which is good to the eye is what you think are good footballers. That is all what people think. Actually, no. Again, pretty sure Gareth Southgate is an idiot, but he's definitely less of an idiot than both of us sitting on the panel as well as people in the chat, right? That we have
You
to
would
agree.
you would you would you would think so, but then he says things like, you would think so, but then he says things like Fikayo Tomori with a Scudetto is worse than Conor Cody and Harry Maguire. So
I get it. What you're saying.
so
See, but basically, footballing credentials is what I'm talking about. Then Thomas Tuchel, Frank Lampard, first stint, not the second stint. He was quite decent, not bad, not terrible, not good at all. Right, somewhere in between. So if all those managers and the fact that when he played in Vitesse also when his youth set up, even his coaches, everyone literally said that this guy is someone who kind of does literally everything what a footballer as a midfielder you need. And he has that. He has a good free kick on him. He has that drilling pass. He has that turn, right? He has a good first touch, a good shot. Yes, he's not as good a finisher you want, right? He doesn't have those dribbling skills that you want, right? But again, you cannot have like 100 or 100, right? He's almost
yeah,
like, at least on paper, for a good 2.5 seasons, he was, and 7.5 out of 10 every match almost, right?
yeah,
If you're getting that from a 23-year-old, you would definitely bite your hand off. And I know 24 I didn't say because last year was shit, but he was injured slightly as well. And the team was shit.
yeah.
The club was going through a transition. So for me, such a player letting go to Manchester United is still a concern because yes, we have got 60 million. Yes, we feel that maybe the way Chelsea are playing under Poch, he may not have contributed as much, but I would like to argue he would have. My big question is why Manchester United? Why so early? Yes, we want to get rid of certain baggages before the season starts, before the preseason starts, but even before Poch came physically, he was done and dusted. He
I
was
mean,
decided by
he
February.
did come out and he did come out and say, right, like I was getting vibes that I was not in the plans in the future
Yeah,
and
but come
whatever.
on, as in you're going to say that, right? Once you're there, come on, as in
No, but I
you don't want to
believe
be in the wrong
that
books of.
I believe that's why he said it contributed to the easier decision. I think
So
that's what
again,
I
I would
mean.
not like to claim, Nathan, that I know certain stuff, but I know certain so-called in the knows. So there are contradictory reports for sure, right? The bottom line being, yes, of course, Chelsea had a change of thought in the end of January after the World Cup because we got new directors. They were offering him a 1 year contract for the timing, and then we wanted to eventually give him a longer contract. Again, that was misunderstood by him and his camp by saying that they don't want me for long term. The idea was because of financial fair play, because of the shit transfer strategy that we had, not wrong transfers, shit strategy we had in the last 12 months. We had to do that because of that reason. We weren't sure. And then take a call when a new coach comes in, which actually makes sense from a footballing perspective. And in all those things he had forgotten, like I've literally seen messages going to him personally, tagging him and saying, requesting him, begging him to stay, and sending. I myself, man, as in you have seen my channel, man, I myself
Yeah.
have given him tributes at 23. Who which Chelsea players got tributes, man? And I'm giving, you can see, go and check now, right now, Almighty Blues, after we won the Champions League, I've done a series called 2 stars. He's one of them, you know. Imagine that is the level of thing that we think about him, and he didn't care. And I'm not trying to say he's a snake. He didn't care. I know football is moved on from that. I get that. But the whole idea was about him buying time, about Chelsea buying time to get to a mutual conclusion, which is good for the team and for the club, which Pochettino apparently wanted. So I do not agree one bit that him saying that, come on, as in they didn't want me. That is utter bull crap.
Do you think somewhere down the lines it was just like a communications issue, and
Of
that's
course, it
why.
was an ego issue more than
No,
communication
but
issue.
do you think like it's a fault at both ends is
Of
actually
course,
what I'm
yes. I'm not trying to
okay.
protect Chelsea here.
No, no,
100%.
no. Yeah,
How
no. I
can,
just want to
as in
know.
we have been through the, in the beginning of the stream, we discussed clearly about Rudiger and Christensen.
Yeah.
Christensen, yes, people say, why are you comparing Christensen? Christensen was also a common boy. Yes, ball from Brondby, but he was there, the captain of the academy. Nathan Aki was. We have let go
Yeah.
such players.
Lamptey.
Aren't we learning a lesson? Of course we are. We are as fans, not the club. Because the
Yeah.
club are under transition. So I blame both the parties. Come on, as in, don't tell me that two parties, like we all do our jobs. This is a formal conversation. You have it, you negotiate, you come to a conclusion. If you cannot, like if you're in a contract job, you basically you are trying to make your contract job into a permanent job. What do
Yeah.
companies do? Instead of going for a permanent job right away, they give you a contract extension. That is what
Yeah.
Chelsea offered.
Yeah.
There was a possibility of coming to terms. And are you telling me Chelsea offered him salary which is lower than 200k? No. Yes, it wasn't 300k, but it wasn't lower than 200k. If he was really a common boy, if he felt that way, and I know he does, but if he really did not feel that Manchester United is where I could win things and Chelsea I cannot, he wouldn't have moved. And for me, his videos and other things are utter crap and bullshit with all due respect to Manchester
He
United.
also snubbed Liverpool, right? Like Liverpool was very interested in him as well.
See, that is the thing. Bayern Munich were also interested in him. Why did he snub that, and why did he basically just was interested in Manchester United? So for me, there is more to it than we know, and that is why
No.
I'm not able to. I am blaming both the parties for sure, even Chelsea, and but he is not Dood ka Dula for sure. As in the video that he put up for Chelsea fans. If anyone is telling me
Yeah.
that is with heart that he said, I can change my name.
I mean, I won't go as far as to say he doesn't mean what he said, because
No, but
I
he
am sure he
hardly
will
said
look back
anything.
on
That's the
his
whole
Chelsea
point,
time.
Nathan. He
No,
hardly said anything there.
yeah, I mean, listen, yeah, David De Gea didn't even get a farewell. So I mean,
Exactly.
I
See,
understand,
for
but like,
me, and sometimes we kind of, even right now, I'm telling you, I know that I'm going overboard, but I'm telling you, I'm giving you examples, guys, and this happens unfortunately in England more than others because of the English media. because of the English fans, and I know Nathan, you're one of them, but generally speaking, a lot of them, I don't generalize generally, but Levi Colwill, another example.
Yeah,
Today, Chelsea fan base thinks that Levi Colwill is far better than Benoit Badiashile, which is a load of crap again. He's very good. Don't mind you, he's very good. He can become much better. And I know Badiashile himself makes mistakes. But just to give him more protection, just because he was English and he's a Cobham boy, that is
yeah.
discrimination. I don't like that.
Yeah,
Simple.
like
Anyway.
I saw I think it was Prasanna. I think Prasanna was like they were he took a I think there was a video of Manu Eke with the under 21s whatever they won, right? And he was with
Oh, yeah,
Colwell.
yeah. Yeah,
I
exactly.
Prasanna was like, Noni, make sure you bring him back to Chelsea. I'm like, bro, like this is why I have a problem with fans nowadays. It's like I would rather if someone doesn't want to be here, no, to not be here, even if our club diminishes. Because at the end of the day, now players will come and go, no matter how great the name is, no matter how important they are. And at the end of the day, we have to watch our club either succeed or fail. And when I'm like seeing fans go, oh, bring him, make sure you bring him back. We need him this year. I'm like, bro, you don't need anyone, dude. Terry and Carvalho, who is this kid? Like, I'm like Terry and Carvalho. I'm like in my head, I'm like, please, just relax, put away the social media, and don't look at anything. I'm like, what are you talking about, Levi Colwell, dude? I'm like, seriously, I'm like, this is a joke, like to me personally.
Yeah.
But I'm
But
just
anyway, as in it is what it is. But yeah, as Manchester United are looking good. You can definitely thank us later. I know Mason Mount. People put a reels about preseason. Man, the guy is good. You got a good player on your hands. Yes,
I'm
he's
happy with him. I am happy with him because he has an engine. I feel like Ericsson's engine is
yeah. That in the engine
not just
part,
his
he's better
engine,
than.
obviously, but that engine is just like another, like another thing on top of other things that are
Yeah, he's
feeding into
better than
fire.
Ericsson on that part. But again, the creativity part of it, that you have a Bruno who could do it, and even him. For me, he will score you goals. As in, that's the important part. I know he's not like a 15 goal scorer per season, but he can definitely get you
Listen,
say
all
double
goals
digit number
count.
of.
Yeah, I mean, Casemiro got 6 and 7. Or I'll take any amount of goals. I don't
Yeah,
care.
he'll get you 8 to 10
I
goals
don't
a
care.
season, and that's good enough for me.
A lot of people do
If I
this. A lot of
was
people
him.
do this. Oh, he's a top three midfielder in Europe. He has this XG and XA. I'm like, bro, I only care about winning. Give me 38 1-0s. I don't care. These things don't matter to me. Like this is a very weird stat. Everyone brags about. It's very weird. But I'll just ask you a couple of questions before we wrap up, Ankit. By
Sure.
transfers coming in right now, name all the transfers you have got and which one you're most excited about so far.
As in, I think all the transfers are pretty much
So
good.
who
As
we
in,
got
again,
incoming? We got Malo Gusto, we got Chris Nkunku,
Christopher
Nicholas
Nkunku again
Jackson.
came at a very good price, in my opinion,
Yeah.
and of course Malo Gusto, like you mentioned. I think the fact that we have some good youngsters who have come in. Andres Santos, I know that he was signed earlier, but Andres Santos is someone who can play multiple roles in midfield. Talk about Mason Mount, he could become that in the long run. Casadei, another from Italy. I know he's not a signing now, but from youth, he was playing for the academy last season after signing from Inter Milan, and now he is hopefully going to play for the senior team or loaned out. Let's see what it happens. Angelo Gabriel, Diego Moreira, these are two wingers that we have got as well. Pretty decent left-footed wingers, one from Benfica, one from Brazil. Very good on the ball. The only issue that I see overall is like Nicholas Jackson for me would stand out. By the way,
Nicholas
in terms of
Jackson.
value for
Yeah.
money, he'll be the best signing. If that's what you're asking, he's looked brilliant in preseason.
He's a number 9, right?
Yeah, he's a number 9, but
And if I'm not
again,
mistaken, he
jury's
got
out.
player of the month on the last year. He got player of the month in his last year at La Liga, if I'm not mistaken.
Villarreal, he scored like about 9 goals in the last 12 appearances.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
good he
I
was.
think
But again, it's very early days for him as well. I'm not going to claim that he's going to become a Don
I
Juan.
like that Lewis Hall kid. I liked him last season even.
Yeah, Luis Allo last year's
I
season
was
was
keeping
also
an
good.
eye on him. I was very impressed with him in general. But like I
Correct.
mean, he did not get a chance because of Cucurella and Ben Chilwell with the money you all have spent on them. But I was very happy with his performances personally, like as an
Yeah, but
individual.
we have too many. I know he's primary position central midfielder, but he played more of left wing back for Chelsea. I think we have too many. Martin is good. He's good. The sad part is we had bought Kukura, because of which we cannot use much of Lewis Hall and Martin this
Hmm.
season. So I know Kukurea, as much as we would like to sell him, he himself doesn't want to go for whatever reason. And I know I would like to give him a chance. But Lakaka, definitely, I would like to forget, definitely going
I,
out.
I
Uh,
never I never miss an opportunity to read this person's name. So I decided to highlight this. I get the most entertainment out of good old trampoline toes. So,
But
yeah,
yeah,
I
bottom
mean,
line being that we are not finished yet. And Caicedo might be that big transfer that hopefully we are looking at. But again, people will say Bissouma had one superb season in Premier League, and then where was he? Yeah, that's why I said Nicholas Jackson.
I blame Conte for that though, because he should have. I don't know how he didn't get a chance to play at all.
Correct.
Like it was,
But Bentek and Højbjerg did decent. I would not say they
yeah.
did bad.
But then Bentancur got that really long-term injury, right? And he still
Yeah,
didn't get
then
a chance.
Bissouma, yeah, he should have played more. I get you. But I
Yeah,
think that's the thing no, about Premier League. You cannot predict these days. It's
that's
so
true.
as unfickle. But I think we really are short of experience. I like Poch ball. I love it. In fact, the way that he does it, he's mix of a Guardiola and a Bielsa. But knowing Poch, we all know that things can go bad as well in the dressing room,
Yeah,
etc. Sometimes,
yeah.
and that's what I'm a little bit weary about, along with Stamford Bridge crowd on a wrong day. So hopefully we give him the time. Whether we will, unlike Potter, let's see. But if he gets, maybe one argument is he's not getting experience because he wants to manage and captain the team almost off the pitch with the Thiago Silva. So maybe he wants to do that. But I still feel that we are short of like an attacker and a midfielder, both of them who are experienced. With Fofana's injury as well at the back, there is a slight concern. But again, we are good for top four or top five at
Is
worst.
it true? Is it true he's had six knee injuries in 4 years?
He's had
Something like
lots.
that.
I don't know the count, but
Four injuries in 6 years. Something knee injuries, like specific knee
I think he's
injuries.
had this is the second major injury. Just to put things, so even two major injuries in 3 years is a big deal. And major, I mean, for a period
ACL
of
is the
7 8 months
worst.
where he's been out twice in
ACL
three
is the
years.
worst injury you can have.
So that itself is a question mark. And I know that we overpaid like we did in Mudrik, but I think Mudrik at least I see potential. Fofana again might be unpopular. He's a good player, but I think I saw a lot of frailty in his defense the way that he did last season. And I think there's a lot of scope for improvement. So I think it could be a good thing for Chaloba. Let's hope for the best. But he's on sale. We are selling our core. I don't know whether it's on purpose or it's just for the business, but I'm just hoping that whatever it is as per Poch's call. I want Poch to make the calls, or at least the directors, not Todd Bully and Iqbali. That's all I want.
Okay, and one last question. In summary, we talked about last season. We talked about transfers. Let's talk about the future. Where do you think you all are going to finish? And if it is separate to your own answer on a separate one, where do you want to finish as it stands right now? So let's say if the transfer window ends today, as we speak, what do you hope for, and what do you think is going to be the top four? Who do you think top five
See,
apparently this season for European champions?
realistically, realistically, I know that Chelsea, considering what we were last season and the number of transfers changes that we made, ins and outs as well, lots, uh, with still lots to play for, with only Premier League week in week out, we should be able to get top six. But I would say like to say top five is also realistic. I know a lot of
So
good teams around.
five this year gets you Champions League, so that means you
Correct.
get a yeah.
Yeah, but top four, if you really specifically ask me, it's real. It's not realistic, if I'm being very honest, considering the amount of quality. But I think between say Aston Villa, Brighton, Chelsea, Fulham in a normal season, and Spurs, even I would say that we still have the better manager, or at least right up there, and a better squad, despite not being having experience, right? Assuming again Kane goes to Bayern Munich, but what I want, obviously, I want us to challenge for the title. No
Yeah.
two ways about it. I just want us to challenge because the challenge is something for the title in the Premier League. It's been a long time coming, but it's realistic. It's not looking like it this season. What I would take is I would take a top four and a cup win. In English Cup, we have been losing for years. I don't know what we were always known for to be a cup team. What's happened to us in England, I don't know.
Cup.
So, as in right from the late 90s, we were always known to
Yeah,
be a
yeah.
cup team, right? So, this is something that we need to change. As in Wembley was a second home. What happened to that? So, we need one cup, and that helps Poch's CV as well. but top four is, you can argue, almost more important, rather top five, because getting into the Champions League,
Champions
again,
League, yeah.
people might disagree, unpopular. I know Declan Rice went to Arsenal because of the Champions League and Arteta and being the main man, etc. But let's be real. Declan Rice is not going to Arsenal to win the Champions League. I said it.
He looked quite ordinary the other day, no, against a certain United team.
Doesn't matter. For people telling me, and I know that I've been getting a lot of hate for this, but for people telling me that Declan Rice, Kai Havertz have gone to Arsenal to win the Champions League, and I respect Arsenal as a football club. I know that they're one of the biggest in England, but they're nowhere close to the Champions League. Let's be real.
I mean, just based on the game that day, uh, they look like they were on holiday. Like I can't believe how easy the game was. Quite comfortable at the end, Ankit. But I know you
Yeah.
were watching your game, so you didn't see it.
No, no, I
But
did rewatch it later. I did rewatch it later.
it was
Uh,
cruise control, and I thought there were at least 10 out of their first 11 playing. There was no Zinchenko, and that's what I think the team's going to look like. By the way,
See,
once the
they'll
season
do well.
starts.
Don't get me wrong. They'll do well maybe next year. But this season, how can you change Partey, and supposedly he's not starting and probably
Jaka,
going away, and
no
Xhaka in the
Jaka.
same season, when that is your leadership, midfield. So that is surprising for me.
I don't know. They looked quite. I was surprised. We only played the one. We played the one friendly over them. We didn't play our full starting 11. In fact, a lot of our starting 11 for the first half was their first friendly, even though that was our third friendly technically. Like Bruno, Shaw, like there was a bunch of players that have played their first friendly that game, and I was really Ericsson, Casemiro. I was like really surprised how we managed to just comfortably get through like that. It was quite shocking actually. I didn't expect it if I'm being honest, but like we'll end with this, Ankit bhai. It's getting late. This was the final question. Here
Yeah,
we
as
go.
in,
Your top four.
again, won't like it to be a farmers league, but despite the outgoings, I can still see Man City winning it. But I've said it before as well. I think Manchester United will be the closest challenger. The reason being that, like I just said, the core of the team has not changed much in Manchester United, and of course, ETH graph is going the upward direction. I think Arteta has got a lot of pressure on him this time, which he didn't have the previous two seasons, in my personal opinion, and I think that'll weigh up on him. And I think they will do better next season, but this season they might just miss it out. Third, fourth, fifth is between Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea. Three of them
This
will
is
fight it out.
actually, I think I went on your channel, Ankit Bhai, and I said exactly this. This is
Yeah,
exactly the top four
yeah,
with what Puzin has said. This is exactly what I said. Even I thought Chelsea has an outside chance to finish top four. But the good news is Pudin and Ankit is if we are one of the teams that aren't doing well this season, fifth place gets you Champions League as well. So that's great for any team that misses out on traditional top four. There's a lot of benefits to be had now from this season
yeah.
onwards.
Yeah,
So.
again, like, to call it bragging rights or whatever, top four is top four, right? You know what I mean?
No, no, I'm just saying, like, if we fall off, we have that,
Correct.
we have that outside
That
fifth
cushion, yeah,
place,
got it.
yeah, of course. Because the money, the players that it attracts in the future, we have to look at the benefits of finishing fifth. Because
True.
finishing fifth on its own is a downer. The benefits are, Champions League football, different players will be more attracted to us. We can do better next season. So, of course, there is that. Malar is saying City, United, Liverpool. Oh, wow, everyone's saying the same four. Lovely. Like that, like
Let's see.
that. Nobody
Yeah.
likes Arsenal and
Anish
Spurs.
Tuche,
Nobody likes Arsenal, is
I
what
don't
I've
think no.
realized.
By the way, Anish Tuche, big up to you. I don't mean it. I'm not saying what I'm saying based on the friendly. I'm saying it being based on the football, the transfers, and the pressure which comes by signing. So much simple.
Anyway, guys, that is it. We had over an hour with Ankit Bhai. Thank you for giving us your time, Ankit Bhai. Good evening.
Correct,
We'll
always.
finish top five. Let's hope not for them. Although it would be
Yeah, maybe
funny
top six.
if they finish above Arsenal. That would be hilarious to be. But yeah, Ankit Bhai, anything upcoming? Do you have any watch alongs to like plug? Anything coming up?
Yeah, so we have so obviously people. I don't know if in case you know that. Of course, I'm a Chelsea fan. I have a soft corner for Milan as well as follow the Dutch football team in terms of national team as well as India. So, but I try and cover as much football as possible, top five leagues, and again all the international football as much as possible, end to end. Because it's pre-season and transfers is the season, so we are covering transfer daily. Every day we do a transfer dose in the evenings that you can check out on Almighty Blues and again Almighty Sports. Also, I know that I'm due a lot of content, but I think we have a match against Newcastle day after tomorrow morning, early morning. So I might wake up and do a watch along then. But yeah, season is beginning, so just looking forward to more chats, Nathan. And thanks for having
Yeah.
me. And everyone, do
Yeah,
hit
yeah, no
that like.
problem. No problem. Anastasia, I'm not overlooking it. I was just surprised because apparently after the friendly, Arteta made them have a training session. So I'm not the only one who was disappointed with Arsenal's performance. That's why I was surprised. I am very surprised. That's all I'm going to say. I don't take it for granted. We have to play 38 games next season, one way or the other, and we have to win a lot of them to get where we need to get. So like that, I'm not overlooking them. But Arteta made them have a training session after that game. So you take what you want with that information personally. I'm going to do tomorrow's Wrexham game, guys. If you are free, it starts at 8 in the morning, decent
Oh,
time.
okay.
Consider you all guys beat them 5-0. I just saw the score there. I'm like, I don't think we're going to win 5-0. I don't know what team we're going to play.
No,
We're
the
going to play under
scoreline kind of
23s.
flattered us, if I'm being honest, but we did well.
Yeah, yeah, I saw some of the game, but we are going to play our under 23s because the next day we have Real Madrid. We are not going to play any of our starting
Correct.
11. So, but it's going to be a fun game. I'm going to do a watch long. Feel free to join, guys. And I'm going to do UFC. Thursday, I have Sadiq Bhai doing a preview for the UFC. And then Sunday morning, we have the UFC watch along if anyone likes UFC. Ankit Bhai, I'll see you on your channel. I'll be there chilling around when you go live as always.
For sure.
In the meantime, guys, take care. Good night. Thank you. Do like, share, and subscribe. We're on the way to 1,000 subs. We're just that close. It would be really great if we hit it before the season begins. Very unlikely, but still, we push through.
No, no,
And
we'll get there. Guys, Sports Nut Nathan, 1K, Almighty Blues 10K. We have to both, we are
come
in
on,
on track
yeah,
and both of
10K,
us need to
1K.
get
Let's
there.
go.
Okay, there's a target. Let's get it in July itself. Come on, we can definitely do that.
Let's go, guys. Thank you so much, guys, and good night. Take care, and of course, like, share, and subscribe to both our channels. And we'll see you in the next live watch along. Take care, guys, and good night.